So I done a little bit of cleanup and I basically removed the background noise and all the reverb, but the audio was pretty clean, so it didn't need much processing. And I think the main point with podcast is to do as little processing in post-production as possible to keep it natural. Otherwise, it can become a little bit artificial. And then I got rid of the mic bleed, which is basically when somebody is not talking, the mic picks up the other speaker's voice and it can make the podcast a little bit noisy and muffled.
But you've kind of changed career paths a little.
Can't we?
But you've kind of changed career
animations
and things around addiction. And paths a little bit off the back of your experience with films.
With psychotherapists.
There we go.
Yeah.
So now when someone is not talking, there's complete silence in the background. I done a bit of EQing and I boosted the lower ends to add a little thickness to the voice and also boosted the higher ends a bit just to add a little bit more clarity.
Under our feet, we'd have wine in the glove box. We'd have crates of wine under our feet. We'd have wine in the glove boxes.
I raised the level of the quieter parts and compressed down the very loud parts to make it even and more pleasant to listen to. So now there's a consistent volume across the entire audio basically, so listeners don't really need to turn the volume knob up and down when different people are talking. I got rid of the very strong S's and the sharp noises in the audio.
Inconsistent parenting. I think there's inconsistent parenting. I think is what he got sober when my sister was born, and things sort of.
So this is the podcast. It's 1 hour and 1 minute long, and basically the intro has pretty much the same loudness level as the podcast itself. All the speakers talk on the same consistent volume, and also there is not much of a difference between the quiet parts and the loud parts, which makes it a very consistent and pleasant listening experience, I hope.
So you don't know that, so I do. I just know. Really angry.
You can spot one, right? I mean,
It's a final loudness check, so as you can see the volume is pretty even across the entire audio. That's the most important number, -16 LUFS. The integrated loudness is the standard for podcast creation, and 6.8 loudness range. So the loudness range basically means the difference between the loud parts and the quiet parts, and it's pretty normal between 4 and 8. So the higher the number is, the more you preserve from the natural dynamics of the human voice. Sometimes you whisper, sometimes you talk more loudly. And the lower the number is, the more consistent the volume is, basically. So there's a trade-off between the two. But the 6.8 is pretty natural sounding human voice. And this is another important number, -1 through peak, which means that the audio is not peaking. There is no distortion in the audio and it's clean, nice and clean. So that's the podcast and I hope you like it, and if not, I can change anything you like. Cheers.